Angst, is that pronounced right?
You did.
Okay, if you could come up here and
How are you guys? Thanks for the time. Just real quick, I'm kind of in a unique situation with regard to the boat lift factory that's on I-6. They're looking at putting on I-69. I live in Woodhull Township. I live up by R&R Salvage, so I have the resident's perspective of the business being in town. I was the CFO for a company in Owasso for several years. I'm the CFO for a small company in Fenton right now. So I've kind of seen both sides of what goes on. And from my perspective, the economic development side, and I know there's a lot I probably don't understand from the community side. It is very important to businesses to have employees and to a local community to bring employees in. We just moved locations from Swartz Creek to Fenton. It means a lot of difference to restaurants, grocery stores, and everything else to have these employees shopping locally, doing things locally. It brings a lot of revenue to the areas where we move businesses and where we bring them in. There are a lot of things to consider, I understand that, but I do, like I say, my take on it from both perspectives is, you know, the area they're looking at seems to be more of a heavy traffic area to begin with. I used to drive that road when I went to Western Michigan University, and it was all businesses through there. So, you know, I do think it's important from an economic development perspective to have those jobs and to have additional people come into the community. So, thank you for your time.
okay, next, Jean Patton.
Well, I'm one of those residents that is concerned. As I just told Mr. Feichner, I'm not against him personally. There's nothing wrong with putting businesses in Woodhull Township. The problem is that we're dealing with 20 acres in the middle of a residential area, a very specialized 20 acres because there's no room to build on either side of them. They're homes. So that it just seems a little strange to set to put an industrial business in the middle of these 20 acres. As someone said, we're kind of a bedroom community. We have people that live there. I have nothing against new people coming in and spending money. More power to you. But we have down the road, not 5 miles, an area that has been designated by the county to be used for industrial business. It just seems strange that this 20 acres is more important than having them move into an area that you have already designated as a commercial or industrial area. The other thing that I worry about is that this is a 20-acre parcel. It has been rezoned into 2 10-acre parcels. 2 10-acre parcels now mean that we are dealing with the possibility of having 2 industrial businesses right in the middle of our residential area. One of those 10-acre, I've heard from the beginning that all the traffic is going to come from Lansing Road. It is not going to affect us on Beard Road. If I am correct in what they told us at the zoning board last week or a couple weeks ago, one of those parcels does not have access to Lansing Road, which means we are going to be affected, all of us people who live on Beard Road. It's not maybe the parcel that he's talking about now, but it's going to be available for. I had a gentleman in the last zoning board tell me that you have to think 25 to 30 years down the road. I personally think 25, 30 years down the road is a little extravagant. I think your 10-acre or your 10-year planner that you have is much more reasonable. And I don't see that that area is going to open up where you can put that much more business in the area that this 20 acres is located. I will only say that my husband and I moved out here about 19 years ago. We lived in a Detroit suburb. I can tell you how things changed drastically. I admit it's not the same as living out here in the country, but it only takes one business to move in. And when one business moves in, something else has to move in beside it. And what I have seen is that you get one business and that creates another business and another business, and pretty soon the area is sold out and you have a business area. If that's what you want for Woodhull Township, then more power to you. But I don't see how you can think that eliminating all this residential area that we're talking about is going to change that drastically in 10 years to invite all this stuff in without a little pushing and shoving and changing people's ideas. I have a lot of questions that probably seem immaterial at this point. Mr. Feichner has said that there's not a problem with water. There is no sewers there. I see all that, but again, if you bring in more than one business, which is what's going to happen if you have two areas zoned industrial, then you are going to affect water tables, you are going to affect noise, you are going to affect traffic, and it's going to change the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Nancy Robinson.
I need my address, or you're good?
I got it here.
Okay.
Just go ahead.
Actually, I agree with what Jean says. I live fairly close to this property also, within one parcel of it. She's correct when she said one of the 10 acres doesn't have Lansing Road access, but that parcel sits right up next to a berm home. That is a single person that lives in that home. There's a lot of single people that live in our neighborhood. We've all been there for years and years. And I just can't understand why we would want to rezone those 20 acres to an M1. Oh, and by the way, someone said they were going to check on that for me to see if there was any other M1 zoning in Woodhull Township.
That was discussed at the planning commission, and there isn't.
There is not. So this would be the first M1 in Woodhull. Okay, thank you. So again, that's basically, we've repeated ourselves about 4 times now, and we're kind of all hitting the same thing. I hate to just keep going over and over the same thing again, but I don't think where that property is a good place for any M1 type of business or industry. There's nothing else in that area. We're all residential homes and small farms. So that's why I'm opposed to it. That's all there is. I just can't believe that we would have to give up the quietness of our neighborhood. And as far as there being people that will supply restaurants and stuff, we don't have any restaurants in where we live in that part of the township. There's no restaurants. There's one little tiny store we all call the Shasberg Mall, which basically is a liquor store. We don't have much of anything else. We don't have and don't want that traffic in our neighborhood, whether it's on Lansing Road or on Woodbury. Our properties go to Lansing Road. So basically that's all I can say is that I'm not opposed to the business. I'm opposed to the rezoning. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, John Williams.
Good evening, people. This is the 3rd time we've been this. Mr. McMaster was at the zoning one, and we went 4-0 in the local Woodbury zoning. It was 5-0 when it came to our board against. It was 4-2 at the zoning the other day. And there's so much other property along Lansing Road. One of the gentlemen said last time about, that whole thing is supposed to be commercial someday. Well, when that old highway was there and M78 was there, they had the opportunity. And the only way you saw anything really was there was a gas station at Shasberg Road, which is now auto repair place. But everything contours down to M52 and I-69 because that's the 4 corners. That's where you people, the zoning commission came out and said, this is where we should have the development. So I did some checking. And, this is just some numbers that I found out today. There's some property west of M52, 9 acres, It's by the Dollar General, between the Dollar General and the truck stop. $360,000 versus the $175 that they paid for the 20 acres. East of that, there's an industrial park that we developed, or the county came in, so they're gonna have an industrial park. There's 3 acres for 105, 2 acres for 70, 20 acres, which would be comparable to what they bought, $700,000. East of there also, with the Mid-Michigan TM and commercial, there's 7.4 acres, $329,000. And then the truck stop, actually, when they bought the truck stop, Markham Enterprises, they inherited 7 acres there, which they're willing to sell off 5 of the 7 acres for about $400,000. So we know why they're trying to get it rezoned. It's a beautiful spot where they're at, $175,000 versus, 300,000. But we don't need it in our neighborhood. That is not what we all moved out there for. I've been there 30 years now. I'm within 300 yards of what's going to happen there. And I don't care about their company or any of that. It's the zoning. We have nothing against them. They probably, he tells us he paid cash for it. Well, that's good. Doesn't everybody, right? But the key is, it's the zoning. Jagir Builders over in Meridian Township developed College Fields, made some stipulations, signed everything up saying, we will not develop this 9 acres of woods here because we're going to leave that for the area. So people signed it, had him build the house, got all done, got subdivision going. He's back in court because he wants to take the 9 acres and build houses on it now. So it doesn't matter what they put in it, because as long as there's an attorney involved, they got a chance to get the thing overturned. So what we're trying to look at here is that it's never wrong to do the right thing, and the right thing is to deny the zoning request. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Mike Blackledge.
Mike Blackledge. I live on Woodbury Road, and I have some information I prepared that I'd just like to read real quick. At the last meeting on this property, I heard many residents agree that their concerns had nothing to do with the business nor the owner and his family. It was strictly the rezoning of the land. Woodhull Township has chosen to not speak to the use of light industrial activities within the township master plan. Being mute to the needs of the community, they are affirming that they will rely on the decisions and viewpoints of Shiawassee County zoning. Due to the township's silence on M1, they are seeking the direction of Shiawassee County to make decisions regarding this type of zoning that are in the best interest of the entire county and that of Mid-Michigan. This board has the authority to assess the project economically, publicly, and locally. Being Shiawassee County's closest municipal jurisdiction to Michigan's capital, the township's master plan identifies an estimated location of where township residents work, which is predominantly in the Lansing, East Lansing, and Meridian Township areas. The township's master plan states under the Natural Resources and Sustainability, page 44, the community supports continued efforts to help protect the vital natural resources by directing development to areas of minimum sensitivity. Considering this project will set directly adjacent to the I-69 expressway, which is part of the state's infrastructure and is naturally recognized as the I-69 International Trade Corridor next Michigan Development Corporation, we need to be diligent with what's acceptable and where to make approved development and growth. This is understood. However, it is my hope that this board will accept this request for rezoning, as the project owners clearly desire to meet the aesthetic appearance of the community as pictured in their exhibit, which is also clearly desired as outlined in the township's master plan. As was stated in the previous board meeting, this project is on a Class A road with the I-69 expressway to the immediate north. The applicant has presented considerations that would clearly eliminate many of the concerns expressed in the last meeting here on this property, including no access of truck traffic on West Beard Road. What are the economic benefits? According to the township's master plan on page 16, Shaftesburg does not have its own exit from I-69. It is situated midway between the Perry exit and Woodbury Road exit, located in the township Without proper planning, the configuration can limit business expansion and commercial growth in the community. On my way over here today, I drove from Woodbury Road. I live off of Woodbury. I drove from Woodbury Road and I went to the edge of the township line and I counted 10 businesses just driving. There are 10 businesses with 10 signs. Businesses that are located from well drilling companies to billboard companies that have billboards along there to automotive companies, repair shops. Master plan implementation, page 17, item number 5. Commuting and employment data suggests that the township may want to contemplate strengthening local employment opportunities. This may be achieved by planning for additional office, industrial, and other land uses where appropriate. As residential properties generally demand more spending and services than they generate in revenue for most communities, if the township takes on more new residential development, more non-residential uses may be desired to share the burden. At the last meeting here, I heard the township pride itself on the subdivisions it has. I felt like a victim recently when the special assessment was set up to pave the roads in my subdivision. It was alarming to find that the township can't afford to maintain roads as they reject opportunities to build resources to do so. Public need. It was commented in the last public meeting that this was a bedroom community and that the people move into the area because of this. Per the current township master plan, the township showed a compounded rate of annual growth from 2010 to 2020 as 0.63%. With the rate of construction in the township since this plan was enacted, I question if that increase is too high. However, a growing need for employment has not changed. What is our community input? On Chapter 3, community input of the master plan, the community visioning workshop was held to obtain input from residents as to the likely results of the continuation of current development trends and what those trends may imply. It also helped identify potential solutions to concerns that were raised. As part of the workshop, a land use image survey was conducted. During this workshop, opportunities and threats were also developed, ranking based on a point system. There were 2 groups set up for each category. For the survey topic number 6, office and light industrial, page 38, it asked which phrase worked best and word best applied. 61% of the attendees chose jobs in tax base, which was over 22% of those stating that it undermined rural character, and 17% keep out. We are a bedroom community. That's 61% of our population in Vernon Township chose that we need more jobs and we need a tax base to help us out. Opportunities, page 40. Group 1 stated, number 2 ranking on their list of ranked items said, attract office, light industrial, and commercial, makes it convenient for the residents. Number 14 of 16 stated, regulate development. That means that was 14th out of the group. They want regulation on development. Number 2 in that for group 1 was light industrial and commercial development. Group number 2 stated for opportunities. Ranked number 3 for them was develop I-69 interchange, village type feel. For the threats on page 41, group 1, item number 1 that they put at the top of their list was lack of infrastructure to promote growth. Number 2 on their list at the top was lack of jobs and things to do for the young people. Group number 2 on the threats category, the number 1 thing that they put at the top of their list in that master plan was county zoning too restrictive, lot size maximum, permitting process. Number 3 on their list from the top was slow growth, lack of growing tax base. Which brings me back to the natural resources and sustainability noted in Chapter 4 Guiding Principles, page 44 of the Township Master Plan. As I said before, as I quote before, the community supports continued effort to help protect the vital natural resources by directing development to areas of minimum sensitivity. This is an area that holds minimum sensitivity to the township due to its proximity and use of a Class A road adjacent to the I-69 expressway. It will be an economic benefit through increasing the resources available to support an aging infrastructure, and it will meet the needs of the community through attracting opportunities for convenience of employment and development in less sensitive areas of the township where sustainability of natural resources are desired. It is my wish and my request that this board approve this request for rezoning. Thank you.
Thank you. Paul Eggers.
Well, I don't have a whole list of facts to give to you. I live on Beard Road, just down the road from where the applicant wants to put the factory. I do have 2 facts for you. Fact 1 is, he bought the land knowing that it was residential. He could have went right down the road and bought it. He didn't want to spend the money, I guess. The second fact is, the first meeting we were at, the owner of land directly adjacent to the applicant's property stated that if this goes through, they want their property rezoned M1 as well. And there's a lot of vacant land that's adjacent to that and adjacent to that, and it's going to get closer and closer to our property. We moved there because it's a treed, large lot community. We like it, it's quiet, easy access to the city and the different facilities around us. I don't understand why you would buy a piece of property you know you couldn't build on unless you got it rezoned. And I really, every meeting I come to, I think more and more and more about the fact 175,000 for 20 acres or 400,000, 5 miles down the road. I just don't see the necessity of changing it. And then we've already got other people who are going to come to you and say, well, you changed his, change mine so that I can make money. The third thing that I would add to that is, I've stated before, I have no reason to not believe what the applicant said he's going to do. But he's also stated he has several buildings on the property where he's doing business right now and wherever it is. If his business expands here, he's going to use that whole 20 acres. And if he doesn't use it and he decides to retire, there are several other kinds of businesses, and I'm sure the board members are aware of that he could sell the property, and who knows what would go in there. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I do have one quick question for you, Mr. Eggers. You said the parcel, is this the parcel owner to the east?
I'm not sure. They only came to that one meeting. They haven't been back that I know of. So.
It's got to be the west. To the west is the church.
It's to the
It's got to
west.
be the
It's
east.
to the west.
They stated that.
I'm sorry, it's what? It's to the west?
To the west.
It's the
Yeah.
church.
What concerns me is
Well, there's
they asked-
property on Bureau Road that
East
also.
is the church.
What concerns me is that, I don't know if it's left or right, east or west. What concerned me is they said, if this gets rezoned, they asked the board, can I then get my property rezoned? Thank you.
And then
Okay.
also she stated in that same conversation that then once we get it rezoned to industrial, light industrial, we can sell it.
Next is Sandra Perkins. I'm sorry, it's Sandra Perkins.
Yes, do I come all the way around up there? Excuse me, guys. It's okay. I also live on Beard Road. We moved out there because it was a quiet community, and I wish the best for that. I really do. I want their company to prosper, like I would want anybody's to prosper. But to move that into our little community, I think it would be a very sad day for our community. Most of us that live in that community are retired. We don't work. We moved there just for the quietness of it. And I can't figure out, we've got these industrial parks. That's what we brought them into our cities for. We've got one in the Perry area. And I know there's a big difference in the price from $175,000 up to $300,000. But if your business is going to prosper, you can afford to move into something like that. And I think it's going to really hurt our community. As far as the traffic goes, you think when truckers are coming in, they're going to say, oh yeah, this company told us we got to go all the way down to 78 and make our left there. They're going to hit Beard Road and come right down Beard Road, right straight down through. We already have enough trucks that come down here now. But my desire is that this board would think about our little community. This is our homes, this is our property, this is where we have our families. And I really hate to see something like this come into our community. So I really would pray that you guys would really think hard and look at us as the people that live there, what our heart's desire is also, because we have desires and we want to live in a little quiet community without this big industrial thing coming in. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Susan Parker.
Hi. I live on Beard Road, less than half a mile from where this facility is proposed to be located from the rezoning. And again, as I have told them often, you know, the Feitners have told us, come out to Charlotte, look at what a beautiful facility we have, da da da. I believe you. I've looked at aerial photographs and that, and I know you've got a great facility, and I see your commercials all the time on TV and that, but it's not the facility, it's the rezoning. And this is a residential community. This is a community in which people live and they work in Lansing or they work in Perry. It's a bedroom community. And Mr. Horvath was part of a group that looked at the housing needs of a 6-county area, I believe it was. Is that what it was? 7-county area, Shiawassee County being one of them. And there are housing needs that we need more middle income housing, and I think that was $150,000 to $300,000, something like that. And so we need more housing. Industry, there's lots of places in Perry for industry. You move the industrial facility to Perry, it supports the businesses that are in Perry. They can eat there, they can get their gas there, they can sleep there, they can do whatever in Perry that we don't have in Shaftesbury. We're just a residential community. And I've lived there for 30 years. I moved there because it was a residential area. The property that they plan or that they have purchased is part of what used to be a much bigger property. It was a sheep farm. And it was a sheep farm when I moved there. And the man who lived there, Lester, he was born in that house, and over 90 years later, he died in that house. This was the community that I moved into, a community where people move in, they stay, they have beautiful homes that they take a lot of pride in. We don't want an industrial area right in the middle of our residential facility. And, in terms of needs for jobs, you put the facility in Perry, you've got the jobs there. It's not that far away. People drive to their jobs, so put it someplace where there's already a lot of land that's available, that's already zoned industrial, not land that's zoned residential. And in terms of property values, there's been discussion, is this going to raise property values? Is it going to lower property values? If the property is going to be rezoned industrial, it will raise that property value because industrial property goes for more money. If you get it as residential, it's going to lower the property values. And the house that's directly across Beard Road, they're trying to sell, they had to drop their asking price by $50,000 because of the proposal that the land across the street was going to be zoned industrial. So it definitely is going to raise property, or it's going to lower property values for people trying to sell their house And it's really just gonna be all around not a good thing for our bedroom, residential, everybody knows each other, neighborhood type community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Randall Beatty. Beatty.
And this has gotten a little more difficult than I thought it would be because everything I had planned to say has already been said one time or another, or many. I'm trying to think of what I can add to the discussion that hasn't already been said, but I can say I'm a small business owner that originally tried to put my business in Perry and tried to work with the industrial park areas and such things down there. And there was always some reason I couldn't do that. Expansion of my business was put off 3 years because I couldn't find property near Perry. And I live in Woodhull Township. I live near closest to Shasburg, and I was unable to do that because I wasn't able to find the situation where I could do it. There was always some roadblock to being able to put things in down by Perry. I do think that the township can benefit from the additional tax base and additional jobs. I've been to many Woodhull Township meetings where you hear so many things about we don't have the money to do this, we can't afford to pay for that, but yet they're not increasing tax base. This is a facility that is not a mammoth auto plant or something. This is a very small facility when you talk about industrial. This is light industrial. This is not putting a huge plant in. This is not something that's going to increase the traffic of a Class A road like Lansing Highway, or certainly add to I-69, which are all within a few hundred feet of this property. It's not like it's sitting back in the woods somewhere. I think it would be something that would be beneficial to the township. I think there are, as the gentleman said here earlier, at least 10 businesses along that stretch of road already. It's not all residential. There's a lot of business along that stretch of road. And I think, as a small business owner, I really do feel the pain of trying to be able to expand your business, trying to be able to do things, and always running into these roadblocks that stop you from being able to do that. And if it was some huge facility that was going to cause, heavy industrial noises, things on that line, or really that had any chance of really increasing traffic. I mean, seriously, it's Lansing Road is a Class A road. It's got a lot of traffic on it. I would understand where it's coming from, but this is a place that is, I think, an appropriate place for this type of facility. Thank you.
Thank you. Marcia Copeland.
Hello. I live on Beard Road. I have to say that I agree with everything that everybody has said that lives on Beard Road. One thing I would like to clarify, you said that there was no property in Woodhull Township zoned light industrial M1. Is that correct?
That's what our community development director told us.
Okay.
That was at the planning.
Well, what I'm getting at is the gentleman that said that he counted 10 businesses. None of those evidently had to be rezoned to M1 to be put in there. That is my issue, is the rezoning. Because I was looking this over, and some businesses that could possibly go in there with some stipulations, I have to give you that, but they could possibly go in there, would be a temporary sawmill, commercial garages, mining, surface mining is what it says, asphalt and concrete batching facilities. We do not need that. We don't even need the potential for that to come into our community. My husband and I moved out there in 1974 from Lansing, Michigan. We lived in an area where there was light industrial. We moved there to get away from that, to get away from the traffic, to get away from the noise, which they said that there isn't going to be, there's always noise. I'm sorry. And as far as traffic goes, We have trucks going down Beard Road. I counted one morning 7 semis. They cut through Beard Road to get to 52 because they do not want to go through Perry. They will avoid Perry. And I know this property. I attend a church that's just to the east of it. All they'd have to do would be come out onto Lansing Road, hang a left down Warner Road, hang another left, and they're right on Beard Road, straight to 52. It will happen. I'm already seeing it. I don't know where they're coming from or where they're going, but they're using Beard Road. Please, when you think and you vote, please think of our bedroom community, why we moved there. We want it to stay that way. There's only a store there. It's, you know, they're not going to really. There's just a little party store. There's no grocery stores. There's no gas stations there. There's no bank. Nothing like that. That's all in Perry. There is land in Perry that they could easily go into that's already zoned for this. And I'm afraid if you change the zoning, you're opening it up for more rezoning of property out there and some of these other types of businesses possibly coming in. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Bobcat Keller.
Whoops, excuse me. My name is Bob Keller. I live in north central Woodhull Township. I'm not in near proximity to this project, so I have no proximity concerns. But I did have a career working for MDOT and preparing environmental impact statements to judge a project. And I don't have all the details for this project, but I've looked at the project, and my preliminary assessment is, I agree with the gentleman, there's really no environmental sensitivity here at this location. It looks like a former old farm field or pasture for sheep. I don't see any wetlands. And I see a considerable distance to the next house. So I don't know, I can't believe that the buildings that are proposed would extend clear to the far east end of this property. And if they don't allow trucks to come off Beard Road, I don't see any concern with traffic on the old highway. You got the rest area right there. If you're worried about noise, you've already got trucks going and coming out of that rest area, far more than what I anticipate. How many trucks a day would this business have? I can't believe it's more than a handful. So I'm kind of debating that the traffic isn't an issue. So I'm not going to get into the zoning, but from an economic aspect, I think it's a favorable project for Woodhull Township, and that's where I stand. Thank you.
Thank you. And I saved the best for last, Supervisor Kay Nichols.
There you go. Couple quick points. Statements have been made regarding the zoning now to small businesses. They are B1, not M1 manufacturing. Secondly, talking about economic development, Woodhull Township is the second highest taxable value in this county, even higher than the city of Shiawassee Township, I should say. And I think that we should keep in mind that, again, a bedroom community, 7 subdivisions, and 4 section by 6 section. Many of the other townships are 6 sections by 6 sections. We serve near 4,000 residents. And I think that should be kept in mind, and 60 miles of roads. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so that ends our first call to the public. We'll move on to item number 4, Community Development Monthly Reports. Pete Preston. Pete here?
Yep.
Anyone from his office? Oh, he is here. Hey, Mike, you're on.
Sorry about that. Zoning permits, 16, building permits, 32, and code enforcement issues, 58. So we're still chunking along, and the building is active. That's about all I have.
Okay.
Anybody-
Well, if you could
Was
stay
it
for
work
item
this
number
morning?
6. Anyone have any questions for Pete?
I have a question, but it's tied to the topic that everyone here is.
Okay, let's wait till we get to,
Handle that.
wait till we get to 6 then.
Thank you.
Okay. If you could hang around.
I will be here.
Okay. Item number 5, consider approving the 2018 Shiawassee County Annual Apportionment Report as prepared by County Equalization and direct the spread of taxes in terms of millage rates to be spread on taxable value.
So moved. Support.
Discussion? Questions? Pete?
If I can just make one comment, there is an election tomorrow, so if there's any revisions to this document, they'll be provided to you before the Thursday Board of Commissioners.
Any other questions, discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion moves on to Wednesday. Item number 6, consider an amendment to the Shiawassee County zoning map for property located in section 23 of Woodhull Township, parcel ID number 013-23-300-001-03 and parcel number 013-23-300-001-04 from A2 agricultural production rural residential to M1 light industrial and authorize the board chair to execute all necessary documents.
So moved. Support.
Okay, so I have motion and support. Discussion.
If I may have a couple questions.
Fire away.
So, Mr. Preston, curious for the benefit of the folks that are attending, can you explain a little bit about the county's comprehensive planning instrument that it uses for dictating where the county will make investments related to infrastructure, types of growth, zoning, and that type of thing?
Well, the county has a master plan. By state law, it's supposed to be reviewed on a 5-year basis. A normal comprehensive plan will look out 10 to 20 years for growth and try to project where that growth will go and how much will go into that. Normally, geographic features and man-made features such as roads, highway interchanges and such, we focus non-residential development. Residential development would be focused in areas where subdivisions, you have a higher density of residential, and then spread out throughout the county would be low-density residential and then agriculture. So it's very basic layout, and for us, the county, we have to account for a variety of uses in the county. So the county maintains the jurisdiction of the zoning and therefore the master plan for 14 of the townships. Now, each of the townships also has a master plan, and in this case, we are somewhat coordinated, our master plan, with all townships' master plan in designating this area as more of a residential area as opposed to an industrial area.
So, as I understand it, though, the document for Woodhull Township was updated, I believe, in 2013. That is what the county relies on when it looks at permitting, zoning, and whatever the case may be.
It is a document that is reviewed alongside the county's master plan. Again, in litigation, since we maintain the zoning ordinance, the county does, it's our master plan that we rely on. The problem is that if we have 14 townships that are doing different master plans and using different verbiage and using different colors on their map, it's hard to bring that in, those 14, and still have a zoning ordinance that is supported by a master plan.
Okay, so if we wanted to get a copy of the county's comprehensive development or master plan, where would we be able to look at that?
It's online.
It is.
Yes.
And so, how is the county's plan different than the Woodhull Township's in this case?
Well, that's why we spoke in generalities with it, that ours is fairly close in this area to be a residential.
Okay, and when was the last time that we approved a rezoning from A1 and a half to M1?
I believe the last one would have been the Bonner issue on 52, or would that have been, we've had a couple. So we've had the Bonner issue on 52, we had the Faber issue as well on 52, both in Bennington Township, and we had up on M13 in New Lothrop, we had a large rezoning to industrial there, and then also on the west side, and M21 with a small parcel of land that was zoned agriculture. each of these properties have had a previous use or a similar use, and that's why the envelope of the master plan was pushed. In this case, we have more of, not to oversimplify what the planning commission discussed, but in this case, we have a site that did not have those other conditions that we could hang our hat on. And I think that's why the planning commission overall recommended.
In my experience, this is a classic example of spot zoning. Would you agree with that?
In that it does not meet the master plan and it does not have other conditions that, like a legally non-conforming use or a use that has previously been there and looking to expand, yes.
Okay, and you're well familiar then with the externalities that are created when we get into spot zoning and the slippery slope that it creates for planners.
It does because you are obligated to treat each person that comes through the door equally, and if someone else has a 20-acre agricultural piece that has been in farming right next to this, again, without the conditions, previous conditions associated with, how could you turn them down and let somebody else move forward?
So by that response then, the folks we've heard from that have invested their lives and their resources into living in this community then, we're saying they don't know any better and we do know better and there's a higher and better use based on our value system, not theirs.
I don't know if I'd necessarily phrase it that way. I'd say that we take public comment and that everybody would have an opinion.
Okay, so, my term's winding down. Let's make a couple observations about, I'm a process guy. And this is deja vu all over again. When people say we don't have light industrial, that's because Proline was not required to have upzoning to accommodate a 40,000 square foot manufacturing facility. So we have 80 acres of light industrial that never even needed a zoning permit. We accommodated that, shoehorned it in through a special use permit, okay? That's a real problem. So when people say we haven't allowed for it, I like the statistic we heard. Woodhull Township provides the second highest tax base. So everyone says all the rich people down in Woodhull Township, they're whining again. I ran on smart planning and zoning. I helped update that 2013 plan. That's why we did it. This county has no vision. Our economic development folks spend no time on that. They're very reactive. They work with applicants to do end-around processes that we have in place. Once again, we've seen the township board deny it. We've seen the Township Planning Commission deny it. We've seen the County Planning Commission deny it. So here we are again, on our high horses. We all think we're going to know better and how great it's going to be for Woodhull Township. But it smacks against all the process that we put in place, but we're going to set that aside now because we and our values know better than the folks that have invested their lives. Until this county understands the importance of constructive, thoughtful planning and making those investments, we're going to continue to convene folks like this. And this is not an indictment on Mr. Feitner or any other good businessman that wants to set up shop. Given the thousands of acres that we have in Shiawassee County, it would seem to me that we could accommodate that gentleman and we could help cater and invite folks in to make those investments in a responsible way so we're not all convening and having to take up valuable resources and time hearing these people wear their hearts out on their sleeves. Now, if any one of us were living next to that, you'd be saying the same thing. So I don't know what else.
This is going up right across the street from me.
I don't know what else.
It happens
Project Tim,
everywhere.
the biggest factory you can ever rebuilt in the state of Michigan or the country.
I literally walk out of my house and see construction nonstop all day long. I didn't hear you say anything about Burns Township when they got railroaded with a gravel pit behind their house. They got one on the left side, now one on the right side. Didn't hear you say anything about that. It only matters when it's in Woodhull Township, apparently.
Hold on. We can all.
Burns Township doesn't matter, but Woodhull does.
If I can finish, I would just like to say that I've been very disappointed and underwhelmed by the investment this county puts in its planning and zoning. That's what I ran on. I was on the Woodhull Township Planning Commission for over 15 years. It's a sad artifact that I come up to the commission now, and in my 2 years, I've not been able to make things better. And that's what I leave this office being most disappointed about. Things will continue on in this manner. Our economic development folks will continue these ends arounds, and we will not continue to make those investments, the smart investments that we should be making. And that's the tragedy with my time here on the county. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Pasquarelli. Before we go to the other commissioners, would the applicant or economic development, would you like to speak?
Sure.
Because I've heard it, because I was on the planning commission, but if you guys want to hear it short.
You want me to come there?
If you have any questions.
Sure.
I am Scott Fightner, and I did purchase the property, obviously, and I did purchase the property knowing that it wasn't zoned light industrial. Well, for the last, let me back up a bit. I started my business in Nashville about 13 years ago with growth. We moved to Charlotte, Michigan. Since we've been there, we've just been continually growing and expanding. We lived in it for 30 years. We've been looking for a second location now for about, on and off, for about 2 to 3 years. We came by this property literally just by chance. Honestly, what Gabrielle is saying, she lives in Woodhull Township, works for my company full-time, as does Rachel. And they were going to get an ice cream cone in Perry and drove by it. And literally, we struck a deal with the Graham Church regarding the property. I'm very proud of that. I knew this would be somewhat of a struggle to ask for rezoning, but I knew that going into this. I've been accused of being in collusion with all the county commissioners, paying money on the side for everything under the world, which is insane. The first 2 Woodhull Township meetings, the main topics were, we want to get into the sex industry, we might build a gravel pit, we might put in a junkyard, and I want to build an airport. Okay, so we, at the planning meeting at the county level, we addressed those issues and said, we don't want to do this, we're willing to do exemptions. And we also stated, we're willing to do where there's no access off of Beard Road to access the property. You are referring to 2 parcels.
Yes.
We did not, it is 2 parcels, but it's one transaction, obviously. We didn't separate it. It is what it is from the church.
But the point is, it's still 2 parcels.
But I'm willing to let them put it as one parcel if that.
We could direct conversation to the commissioners.
Okay, I'm sorry, but I'm willing to do that as one parcel, if that's what we need to do, to put that issue at rest. Willing to say there will be no access off of Beard Road, period, because we're not interested in Beard Road. Lansing Road and I-69. You've got 35,000 cars a day driving down on I-69. Let me see the photos. We went out a couple nights ago, and I just like everybody just to scan these photos. And I'm not raising this point because of the billboard, but this is the light that is coming off of the billboard and the whole surrounding area through there. To think somebody is going to build a house in that location is absurd. It's not going to happen. You know, you've got massive light coming off of these billboards. And then you got the church on the other side of the United Methodist Church. That's lit up fairly well also. And we're going to stay on Lansing Road. The first building we'd like to build is this one, which probably everybody has seen this by now. Starting out with an office showroom, and then as we continue to expand on the location, be more warehousing. The problem that we have, to a certain degree, is that unless we have industrial zoning, we can't do any welding or anything. Obviously, the goal long-term would be to move more manufacturing to this location too, keeping Charlotte fully open. But even if we have to repair an item, such as customers on Scenic Lake or all through the area, we can't even do that on site unless we have a light industrial zone. So this is the proposal where it would potentially lay in relationship to the property. This being I-69 running through here, this is the size of the building in relationship to the billboards in the church that are here. From the corner of Lansing Road to Beard Road, there's 1,400 feet. To say somebody's going to hear us inside a building on Beard Road 1,400 feet away, I just can't hardly conceive of it. When you're out there on this property, the traffic volume and the noise coming off of I-69 is huge. That's where the noise is at. It's not going to be us. It's the noise coming off of the highway. I can't change that. And that's why nobody's ever going to build houses there. And that's about it. And then we've also added that as if we get approval, we will do trees, evergreen trees running along parallel with Beard Road. So within a short period of time, they won't be able to see anything on Lansing Road anyways, which I would think would cut down the sound quite a bit through the area. So I believe that's it.
Any questions, Mr. Fegner?
The property currently has a church on it, right?
Well, there's a church, we bought it from the Graham Church. There's the Methodist Church, which is to the west. And then you have the billboards to the east, and then other businesses going east.
And how long has that not functioned as a church?
Oh, this is a functioning church here.
It currently is.
Yeah, this is the Shaftesbury United Methodist Church.
So how many members would you guess they have?
I honestly don't know that, but they are in support of us.
What I'm getting at is the traffic that would be created
By us?
by parishioners going to church.
I have no idea how many members they have.
Just a curiosity question.
Right. Our traffic volume, which I've stated many times at the previous meetings, this is not a Walmart. You know, it's a very niche market. On a typical Saturday, even if things are hot and heavy, you might have 10 to 12 people. This is not like people coming and going. This time of year, 1 to 2. It just doesn't happen.
Which was my point.
You know, it's
I
low
mean,
volume.
if you're gonna have 12 to 20, let's say. And my guess is there's probably more parishioners going to church.
Oh, no comparison. Yes, I agree.
So the traffic thing, do you have, is it okay if I ask some questions?
Go ahead.
Do you have semi-traffic?
We do. Our aluminum comes in. You've got 2 major aluminum extrusion houses. When you're a company of our size, you own all the dies. I own all the dies and all the tooling, but they're made at it's called extrusion companies. The 2 major ones in Michigan are in Gwinn, Michigan, which is the Upper Peninsula, called Superior Extrusions, and then you've got extruded aluminum in Belding, Michigan, both coming obviously from the north. I'm sorry that you have truck traffic on Beard Road, but it would not be related to what we do, because obviously they're going to come down on the expressway and they're going to get on I-69 going east, and they're going to get off at Woodbury. That's how they're going to come to us.
So your supplies come in on regular semi-trucks?
Correct.
Now, when I was down today doing a inspection or visit, I saw you had a bunch of like 5th-wheel trucks and trailers. Is that what you haul everything out
We
on?
transport everything out on our own trucks. That's why.
And they're not semi-trucks, they're pickup trucks with...
They're 1-tons with 40-foot gooseneck trailers, that's correct. That's how we transport all of our products going out. We don't hire trucks to go out. So yes, we can control how they're going to go out. We're going to be sending them to the expressways, and I don't think that's going to happen in this location for a number of years. This location first is to get up and get identity rolling, start building more interest, and then as it grows, probably do some more manufacturing in this zone, but predominantly it's going to be in Charlotte, and we bring the quantities over.
How often do you have it delivered, a large delivery?
Aluminum, the large volumes come in about every week. The way the aluminum business works is we have to commit with projections out. We actually have a schedule that in December, we'll load X amount of poundage. And so we always take the poundage and we're always growing. So every year we project another 20%. And then we commit to that, then it's usually more.
Now this is just plain ignorance on my part, but what exactly do you make?
Boat lifts and docks. Manufactured boat lifts and docks.
And you require a lot of outside storage for that?
It's all done inside other than display product, and that was one of the key issues when we originally did the zoning. We had to have, I believe it was a B2 that allowed outside display or above. And then as we discussed this more, it just seemed wiser to do the light industrial at this time.
And so your storage is contained in buildings?
Inside.
Not out in
Correct.
open fields?
Correct, and like for instance, the vehicles you saw off on the south side of the property, we just built that building that was directly behind those. Once that's all stabilized and fenced, all those vehicles will go back behind the fencing. It's just right now, we're not to the point because of the wetness, we can't get it done. Everything we do, if somebody were to look at a photo of the building that I purchased on Lansing Road in Charlotte 13 years ago, look the way it is now, there's no comparison. I mean, it was decent when I bought it. I think it's pretty darn nice right now. Everything is top notch. And, you know, it's also how you portray yourself to your customers. You can't, doing what we do, it has to look neat and tidy and organized, just the way the customer base is. And it always will be that way. And our office hours are 9:30 to 5 weekdays. Manufacturing is 8 to 5. Sometimes no later than 7, but generally we're 8 to 5. We're open Saturdays till noon in April, May, and June. Always closed Sundays. Always will be. So it's the way it is.
What about exhaust fumes?
As far as from welding, we actually run our own purifiers. I have one of the few welding shops in Charlotte that's air conditioned. That tells you how well we purify the air. And so people's concern of doors being open while we're working or whatever, the guys don't want the doors open, especially if it's hot out. You know, they want the central air systems keeping everything cool. So, and we'll do the same thing here. It'll be totally air filtrated with air conditioning and heating inside the buildings.
When you talk about expansion, you do talk about growing, obviously,
Absolutely.
20 acres, which, you're estimating 12 to 15 cars a day.
Right.
As you grow, though, that obviously would increase, correct?
I think it would.
And then, of course, the number of people that work there would increase. So the
Right now,
traffic-
we've got 16 people in Charlotte. I think, I've been asked many times how many people we hire. I think it's realistic to get into the 5 to 7 zone fairly quickly. I think to get into where it's 16 to 20 would be 10 years down the road, probably. Maybe quicker than that. But I like logical, controlled growth. I own everything. I don't finance anything. And that's the way it's going to continue to be. So, there's no issue of us going out of business. It's not going to happen. We're not going to sell the properties. And we'll put that buffer on Beard Road to make sure that we'll take care of any issues where people are visually seeing anything there.
The only, in my closing comment, because it's a committee meeting, there'll only be 3 of us voting.
I understand.
And in order for it to move on to the entire board, they can all make comments, but they can't vote.
I understand.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure you understood that. If it passes, it goes on to the committee of the whole and then to the full board.
Okay.
They can make their suggestions now, but the vote will be of 3 people. So, and if it fails, it doesn't go any further. I don't know if you
I
understood
didn't know
that.
that, no. I thought it would still go to Wednesday regardless.
No, not if it doesn't pass.
You
Personally,
needed two.
my feeling is that I don't think it's talked out enough, but I would prefer to see the entire board be able to vote. That's my closing.
Brandon, do you have anything for the applicant?
No.
Questions? All right.
I just wanted to clarify, my comments in no way were an indictment on Mr. Fight during his operation. Again, this is the purpose of planning and zoning at the county level. And I think that's sort of secondary to the issue of moving a land designation to manufacturing from A1, A1A. That's what we're talking about here. And absent any surrounding property or any other plan suggesting we move in that direction, that's why I just throw my hands up. That's the purpose of that comprehensive development plan. It's a spot zoning. I don't care what you call it. I don't care what you put on there and what good neighbors they're going to be. It is spot zoning, and that sets a very difficult precedent going forward for future commissioners and how they make their land use decisions. So someday we're going to be going down the slippery slope, as I mentioned, and we're going to have light industrial intermixed with residential throughout the county, it seems, because that's really the purpose of thoughtful planning, to avoid that from happening. So we continue to make things more difficult, but until we get over that and understand the purpose of planning, we'll continue to gather in this way. So, thank you.
Jeremy, or, Trevor, any questions of the applicant? No?
I have nothing.
Gary?
Yeah, I guess you might talk about spot planning and everything else. I live in New Haven. I also live awful close to Hazelton Township. Out our way, it's 100% agricultural. There's nothing going on out in that area. All of a sudden, Wheeler Trucking wanted to put in some zoning. They bought a over 40, 60 acre farm, and it was zoned. He's going to put a trucking company in there. He does trucking, and that was approved. And so you can say they're not spot trucking, but everybody over there approved that. And so things that might be a little different here, but those are, things do happen. It's not the world doesn't come to the end. We want businesses there. Everybody wants it. He's going to spend millions of dollars. He's got truckers. He's going to hire a lot of people, and he's working on it slow but sure. So.
Can I ask Pete one question?
Yeah, go ahead.
What, at A2, it should be up on this, but I'm not. What exactly is allowed in A2 currently? I mean, if it's currently A2, what could go there?
Quite a few things, and
Agricultural.
Yes,
Right.
but, and we do have some land uses that would fall under agricultural service establishment that are really pushing the envelope towards commercial and industrial, but they're to be ag-related, and that's part of the ProLine issue that was discussed as well. That was a denial of a special use permit for an ag service from the planning commission, and then that ultimately taken through the judicial system.
Could a pig farm go there?
Yes. It would have to, depending on the count, have to meet Department of Agricultural rules for the GAMS, the generally accepted agricultural management practices. But zoning would not be able to prohibit any agricultural activity.
Do you have a question for Peter or something else?
Just a comment, what's going on. I was out to ProLine, they had their open house last Friday. I was the only commissioner there. They got a beautiful building, it's like 20 feet tall. I could go on, they got a cement floor, it's finished perfect. They got heat in there underneath the floor. They got it all set up to make the line to pelletize it, all computerized. It's just immaculate the way that they did it. It should be open soon. He spent over $7 million there, and I think I was impressed about that. It must have been 100 there that toured it. Everybody's, a lot of ag people, engineers, bankers, and everything that supplied it. I was very impressed.
Mr. Horvath, would you like to speak on behalf of the
Real quick.
partnership?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Most everything was covered tonight. 3 things that I'd like to cover. Number one, I'm very proud of this board as a whole over the last couple of years. Everything we brought forward to you from a business perspective in terms of companies who want to invest, create tax base and good jobs in our county, this board as a whole has supported. So I want to thank you for that. Number two, from a planning standpoint, business wants to be near highways. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, and Pete kind of referenced this a little bit, I think every single project we brought forward to this board that a business has requested has either been on a state highway or an interstate highway or immediate access to it. That's where business wants to be, where it needs to be. So even if the plan doesn't say it right now, the reality is that's where business should be. So I'm very happy to see that. But 3, I think, the conditional zoning aspect, which is available and we've used on, I think, pretty much every application, is a great way to create that balance between supporting business growth and job growth, but also to protect the residents. And the Feitner family, on their own volition, listened to all the concerns that they heard over the first several meetings of what Woodhull Township residents did not want. And they tried to incorporate that into their conditions. They voluntarily offered those conditions. And that goes with not just them, but any future tenant of that property. It stays with it. It doesn't leave with them should something happen. I think that's a good faith effort on their part to create that balance. And I hope you see that and respect that. It's a way to be pro-business, pro-jobs, but also show the residents you care and want to create that balance. So I think with the conditions that they've offered, it does a good job protecting the residents and certainly encourage your support.
Thank you. Any other comments from the board? Any other discussion?
I just have one.
Yeah, go ahead.
I guess it really wouldn't even be much of a concern or to talk about if it wasn't that this, that we're going to keep them off Beard Road and that this business is on Lansing Road, a Class A road. So I think if it was in 2 roads back or something like that, a new business, then I would be totally against it. But being on the I-69 International Corridor, it's where businesses need to be.
You can establish truck routes with the road commission too.
Right, I mean, maybe that's something we need to look into, is to get all trucks banned from Beard Road. There's something that maybe this board can do to help with. Now, because I know what they're doing, the trucks are cutting through there because they don't like to go to see the state police that sits up there on the corner. I know why
It's the truck. When I was out there the other day, the Hingham County Sheriff was cruising down that road. And the only reason he was cruising down that road was to get, it was a quick way around Perry to get to I-69, get on the Woodbury Road there and head back towards Lansing.
But I mean, if trucks are coming down, or cheating at, taking that's something that we should look at and we could stop. Because they don't need to be, they need to stay on the highways. We don't need big trucks on Class B roads. They need to stay on Class A roads.
no matter what their reasoning is.
Mr. Chair, one more comment. I know, and I could very easily be called a hypocrite by some people, depending on how I vote on this, but the example that comes to mind is the wind turbine issue that we fought over for 18 months, that everybody's completely aware of. We didn't prohibit wind turbines. We made rules for the wind turbine companies to follow. Now, whether they choose to come or not is up to them. We made rules. We didn't prohibit them. So there's an issue here. Do we continue to prohibit this business from developing here, or do we make rules that he has to follow or stay within? I agree with Commissioner Coscarelli too. Yes, it is spot zoning. There's no question it's spot zoning. No question at all. But if they're able to stay within the confines of the rules that the public wants them to stay within, and they have to stay within that, if those rules are agreed upon and written, it falls under the same to me as the wind turbine issue. We couldn't deny the wind turbine companies. We just created rules for them that they had to follow. I don't know why we couldn't create rules for this gentleman to follow as well. But I'm in agreement. You know, I hear what you're saying. I am 100% behind people of the community, and that's why I say if the people of the community, I mean, if there's got to be more to it. I mean, every one of our districts has approximately, how many thousand people? And we've had, I kept tally here, we have, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 11 opinions out of the entire township, out of the entire, that district, whatever. There's got to be more people out there that have feelings one way or the other. It was almost double, it was double opposed. I mean, I get that, I hear that, but I'll just stop. I could ramble on.
I have a few comments. I sat in the planning commission, so I went through this last week or the week before. I've been out to the site twice. I've driven around the neighborhood. I've been down to Charlotte twice, including today. I'm all for industry. I'm all for jobs. I'm having a little issue, like Mr. Coscarelli says, with the planning and the spot zoning. On the flip side, I've walked the property. It's on the north end. It's blow sand. On the south side, it's blow sand, and it dips a little in the middle. There's a reason why it's not being farmed today. There's a reason why it used to be a sheep farm versus growing corn or whatever. The soil's not that good for farming. As I stood out there, it was hard to have a conversation with people because you could the roar from the highway. I find it hard to believe that welding instead of an insulated metal building would make more noise than the noise coming off the highway. There's considerable glare already from the billboard that's there. I've talked to the applicant. I don't know the legality of this, of maybe taking the north strip and dividing that again and zoning that just ag residential, so manufacturing doesn't go all the way to Beard Road. Although the owners have committed to planting several rows of natural barrier of trees back there. But I mean, I honestly, I wanted this forward to Wednesday. I have issues with the spot zoning, but on the flip side, I'm 7th generation that grew up literally a stone's throw from there. My kids are 8th generation, Clinton, Shiawassee County. One wants to go to U of M to become a design engineer, and he loves welding. And I'd like him to come back 4 or 5 years from now and maybe work at a place like this and maybe design boat docks and weld, or maybe go work at Project Tim or whatever. Right now, I'm filling out college applications thinking this is the beginning of the end and he's not going to be coming back. So, I mean, there's a lot to think about, and I know it would be somewhat of a burden for the residents down there, but I drove around, and the subdivisions are a little ways from this piece of property. There's a couple houses next to it. I think we have a good applicant, a good, fair operator though, who's willing to add in considerations, and maybe that's something for us to think about as we move this through this week, is are there other things that potentially, if we are gonna allow this, other things we want in place to safeguard against whether it's noise or light pollution, traffic, that kind of stuff. But right now, I'm gonna take a vote here shortly, but I'd like to move it forward to Wednesday for further discussion from the board. So, with that, any other discussion or comments before we vote? Okay, all in favor of moving this to Wednesday, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. This moves on to Wednesday. Item number 7, other agenda items. Do we have anything?
I just had one quick
Yes.
question related to the issue that we just voted on. So what else, what might we talk about on Wednesday that wasn't talked about tonight?
Well, like I said, what I mentioned, and I don't know if we can do this or not, if you can split the south end of that property and you split it up into lots, it's residential, there should be no easement, that would take care of anyway, will there ever being an entrance off of Beard Road. Do we want to require more natural barriers, that kind of stuff. Or do I'm just throwing it out there, I mean, these are, like I said, this is tough because we're, kind of what Pete says and then what you say and what Mark says, or what Mike says.
If I could just make a request to Mr. Horvath, if he might appear on Wednesday. I'd like to know more about their economic development folks and how they work with the townships when those townships go through an update to their master plans. I'd like to know more from their view, because we seem to be getting across purposes with the townships and our economic development folks, and everything's in the name of jobs and more money. Woodhull Township is the second highest tax base for the county, yet we're being singled out now for some reason in a spot zoning situation. So I just, they weren't at the table in 2013. This is the MO I've seen in 2 years. They wait till an applicant comes in, they're highly reactive. I don't see them courting individuals and direct these investments to those zoning areas. So I'd just like to know more going forward what their vision is for the county and how they'd like to work with Mr. Preston and our planners here to account for that and avoid these situations of spot zoning and have Shiawassee County make those investments where they're going to be, at their highest and best use.
And I'd also like to see from the applicants on Wednesday, you just give a brief, you don't have to do it today, but Wednesday, a brief presentation of how many employees, salary, training, like you do in Charlotte with ISD or the RA, whoever you work with in Mason. So, yeah.
Now, it sounds like Commissioner Coscarelli would like to hold the SCDB accountable for doing exactly what they're supposed to do in these cases, and that's their job. They are the fishing net that brings these things in, and it's the planning commissions and board commissions, our job to figure out whether it's good for our county or not. So, if you want to hold them accountable, I guess I'd say, way to go doing what you do. I think if Woodhull Township's Planning Commission doesn't believe that they should have any growth along the I-69 corridor, then it's well timed. That they decide to go ahead and move on to their own planning and break away from the Shiawassee County, or you start to accept that there needs to be growth along the I-69 corridor that's coming.
I wasn't condemning, I wanted to understand what their vision is and how they work with the townships in a thoughtful way so that these areas can be agreed upon mutually, rather than this acrimonious situations that are set up when they come in at the late hour and endorse, advocate for spot zoning. That's what I want to know from an economic development standpoint. I think they do a very good job of what they do in a lot of cases. I think there's many shortcomings, not only there, but our planning and zoning function. And again, I've been on my soapbox for 2 years now, and that's what brought me here. And until folks start to see the light in what I've tried to bring here, we're going to continue to be set up in these acrimonious situations. So, thank you.
And in addition to the business owner bringing a plan, I would also like to suggest there were 7 individuals tonight that were very clear on why they didn't want this company here. I would like to see, in addition to, instead of bringing 20 more people to say the same thing over and over, if somebody could coordinate a list of demands, we'll call them, business demands. Other than, obviously you don't want them here because you want it to remain residential, period. But is there something that they could do that would ease the pain? And if somebody could coordinate a list of those demands, those requests, those suggestions to the company that they could do to be a more community-friendly business, I would like to hear that as well.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
May I say something?
We'll move on to the second public comment. Yeah. Public comment, yeah. You get a
Okay.
chance, you get a chance.
Thank you.
Anything else? Other agenda items?
I'll just echo Commissioner Marks. I mean, this happens all over the county. Doesn't seem like it's ever an issue until it happens in Woodhall. It's happened in Burns on several occasions. It's happened in Bennington Township on several occasions. And I don't know where, I don't know where Mr. Coscarelli's concerns were for any of those projects, but, you know, I guess it's just Justin Horvath and Pete Preston who are to blame, I guess. I don't know.
If I recall, those didn't come before this commission that I was talking about.
Wheeler Trucking come before.
Wheeler Trucking came.
Yeah. Yeah, it did.
Alec Faber's property just talked about came
Faber.
before here.
Yep.
Bonner's Trucking's come before here. You know,
You can blur the lines. My point is,
I know what your point is.
Okay, we can discuss this later. Number 8, call to the public. Anyone that wants to speak, please fill out another ticket.
Pardon me?
She already filled one out, and she's.
Do you need to fill out or need to do
Or stand up and tell us who you are so the clerk can identify you.
I'm John Williams. I live at 7907 West Pier, which is directly across the street diagonally from this property. We're not against the company. And it keeps on, we keep saying, oh, they're a great company. They probably are. We're against the rezoning. There is so much property out there. If they've been looking for, what'd you say, 2 years? 2.5 years, I think. I'll talk to you in a second. That stuff's been for sale for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years. So don't tell me they were looking too hard if they kept driving all those other properties that said commercial, industrial, zoned already. They waited till the commercial property came available, which is nice because it's a nice piece of property, high visibility. But why didn't they go to the other place down there? It was already there. It wasn't just pop up out of nowhere. So it's the zoning we're against. It's not the company at all. We understand that it's a growth area and jobs. I mean, one of his daughters told me 200 people are going to go in there to work. Now maybe she misquoted herself that day because now he's only saying 20. But you said 200 when you came to my house and blocked the street.
Direct your comments to the board, please.
All right, sir. Well, she said 200 people, so which we started talking to neighbors, we found out they were talking out both sides of their mouth then, because now it's 20 instead of 200. It's the zoning that we're against, and we need to, you know, I know you guys are like Commissioner Coscarelli said, it's up to you folks. But you should go out and listen to the people out here because it's what's going on here. There's property that needs to be taken care of, and it's there. Use that property instead of starting rezoning everything else. Use what's there available now.
Thank you. Who's next? Do you want to speak?
Yes, Nancy Robinson. I just want to say that on that property, there was only that one piece that has frontage and it's less than 400 foot, is that correct? So the pictures that you have of their business already, that's going to go in that 400 foot frontage. That means that the rest of it's going to be back towards Beard Road. It's going to build back this way. It's not going to spread out. They've only got 400 foot. Look at what they have now. That's not going to go in 400 foot of frontage. So it means it's going to come back to the property. They're going to use all that agricultural. And he did state at the last meeting that there would be more than one building. There may be 2, there may be 3, there may be 5. So they're going to continue building those metal pole barns there. Just like they have here. They're all the metal pole barns with their stuff all out in the front and everything. That's what I don't understand. It's not that. It's a rezoning issue. When this goes bad, which a lot of businesses do today, what other businesses is going to go in there? What's going to go in there? A used car dealer? That's what I'm concerned with. It's just not them. It would be whoever was applying for this rezoning. It's the rezoning we're worried about and what it's going to bring us. After this, then what do we got? Then we're going to start rezoning everything. Who wants to build a house next to that? He said there's no houses next to them, but he did state there was houses behind them. I've been to this property. I drove past it. I drove down the side road. There's no houses behind this. It's all swamp. swamp and trees. We have homes there. We don't want that. We don't want this there. We don't want anything like this there. Put residential there. As far as those signs go, we've asked them to put shields on those signs, and they have in the past. They've been
You
really
have about
good.
30 seconds. And so,
Okay, thank you.
and I would just make a few comments. We've talked the last hour about, yes, this could potentially go back a quarter mile, which is why I talked about tree barriers. I talked about maybe splitting off lots on the north end.
Could we get a proposed site plan, a map of what things are gonna look
Can
like?
you bring that on Wednesday? Do your initial site plan, proposed 5-year, 10-year approximately?
I don't know if we pull that off in a day, we can try. At the first or second Woodville Township meeting, I volunteered to separate off a section of property on Beard Road. At that time, everybody just blew me off. And your treasurer said, it can't be done. That's what came out of her mouth at that meeting. And nobody stood up and said at that point, well, we should maybe talk about any of this. I'm willing to section off and leave it ag or rural residential on Beard Road, a portion of it, because our concentration is on Lansing Road. I've said that, it was either the first or second meeting, and I'm willing to do that.
And those are the kind of items, whether it's coming from commissioners or it's coming from whatever group, if you come to us with the list of things, and maybe, sure, the idea would be to get this decided one way or another this week, but maybe it has to take a little longer time. But that's what I'm talking about, the input, let's see how we could potentially make this work so we can have jobs for our kids and grandkids, but yet preserve the area. I can tell you, nobody's gonna build a house there, it's too loud, nobody's farming it. You're right on it, you're right on M78, you're right next to I-69. I understand there's houses around there, but somehow we need to see if we can make this work. Have you already spoke? Can you fill out Can you fill out a slip?
You fill it out afterwards, you can speak now.
My name's Joe Robinson, I live down on the corner of Warner Road. You made a comment a few minutes ago. I'm 77 years old, I farm that land. So you made a comment with nothing but sand. We put corn in there, we put hay in there, we put everything in the world in there. Sheep come later. Sheep was on the front part. And Lester finally got tired of it and put all sheep in it, but that was a good land. My land, I bought from Lester. My land grows trees like you can't believe, and garden and everything. That's rich soil. You made a statement, it's not true.
It's not true at all, sir. That land in that area is at a premium, and if it was prime soil, somebody would be farming it right now, but that's all speculative, I guess. I'm still farming and you're not, so I don't know. Next.
Yes, hi, my name is Marcia Copeland again. When you talk about putting in barriers and everything, please think of down the road. Barriers can be taken down because suddenly they need to expand.
If we put in a condition that there has to be trees, or there has to be a berm, or there has to be whatever, then it has to be there. You can't just remove it 6 months later.
You can petition to have it removed.
Nice.
Hi, Gabrielle Feichter-Baker, 14501 Dunn Road in Hazlet, Michigan, Woodville Township. Mr. McMaster, I would just like you to confirm that those photos do not have in-plate license plates pictured in them.
I'm sorry, that they what?
That they don't have in-plate license plates pictured in them for fear of harassment of my employees at this point. We've had nothing but hostility from this group of individuals, and I want to make sure that's not on the record.
I don't think we want to take things that far at this point.
Okay, next.
I really haven't seen where they have been harassed. We've asked a few questions, yes. But I'm here to tell you, it looks like a business is more important than the people that are living in this community. We have our rights also, as much as they have their rights. There's that industrial park down the road, and I know they bought the property for $175,000, and that's why they bought it, to rezone it. So we're right back to the rezoning again. But think about us that live in that neighborhood. We have our wants also, just as much as they have their wants. And all of us here tonight, it depends on how you guys decide to vote. If you're gonna vote for money coming into this area, or you're gonna vote for the people that live in that community. And I think you ought to all think twice before you cast your vote about how we feel also. And like this fella said that he lives across from some kind of a business, but you more than likely bought your house and that business was already there.
Not true,
No.
it's constructing right now, it's being constructed right
It's
now.
not true at all.
Anyway,
Susan Parker. I'm really curious about the industrial land that is already for sale and how the owners of that property feel when a facility can come and lowball them by buying non-industrial land and trying to get it rezoned. And so if you're going to look into this further, there's lots and lots of industrial land available in the Perry area in Shiawassee County. So it would not, it would still, if the facility was located in Shiawassee County, you're still getting the benefit of the extra dollars of having that facility here without disrupting a residential community, and by supporting the industrial land that's already available and supporting the businesses in Perry that would benefit by having another facility located in the Perry area.
Mr. Blackledge.
Mike Blackledge. I live in a subdivision. I'm paying for my roads to be paved. I want to point out too that I don't just live in a subdivision. I lived for 18 years on Lansing Road, closer to Durand. My kids go to Durand, they drive by this, they would be driving by this property. Two of my boys every day during the school year, they take Lansing Road, they won't drive on the highway. And I have no problem with the facility. I just want to point something out. I don't think our entire population is here from the township, obviously. But if we take this room and we divide it out based on the 61% of the people that did say we need taxes, then we need growth. If we did that, we could pretty much say that everybody in this group of people sitting before you is at 61%. So I just want to point that out. 61% of the population is not here. It seems that the other 39% is. So
Don't be labeled this now.
61% of the people that live in Vernon Town, or in Woodhall Township, wanted growth. They want tax base. I'm paying taxes to pay my road. I pay property taxes, but now I'm paying a special assessment to pay my road. So I just want to point that out. This group of people right here is at 61% of Woodhall Township. I'm sorry, I keep saying Vernon Township. I was on the board over there for 12 years. So I understand this process. I respect the process, and I just think that not everybody's sitting here today, the voices, I understand. I broke my teeth on I-69 working for the Michigan Department of Transportation 28 years ago. That highway came along, those houses were there. I apologize on behalf of the department. There's nothing we can do with the growth. From the bridge structure all the way through to Mexico, this is a route, this road's not going away, it's continuing to grow. And I drive that road and I see the growth in population everywhere else. I see business development everywhere else but this township. So there needs to be some growth, there needs to be some tax base. Thank you.
Well, there's, as far as the 61%, I can go and knock on doors in the subdivision, but the thing is, the applicant only had to tell people within 200 feet of his property. So maybe that's what I'll do tomorrow, and before the next meeting is going, those subdivisions, let people know what's going on. The other thing is, the gentleman that was sitting over there made the comment about how much traffic's on Sunday. Church is only open on Sunday. This guy's going to be open 6 days a week. So don't tell me about the traffic problems. And I really want to appeal to this board that if this guy can go and buy a residential property at a premium, and you're going to reward him by giving him a couple $100,000 of equity instantly by changing the zoning, then maybe you should reconsider what you're thinking about.
Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Can I just ask one question?
Quick question? Seconded. Meeting adjourned.
Mr. Beatty?
Who's up next? Let's not wait for the 2 minutes.
Hey, Randy. Thanks, Paul. We're starting right now. Starting with
all that could do is take away from say, well, it was funny was we're selling
I mean, I don't know that it's all right. Just say it just keeps happening.
emissions 4 hours into it. And then I talked about how that should
I get it.
it wasn't down. It was pick sound like it's like you see this is a group now. Words are moving.
Put you in a tough spot.
Yeah, I heard you on the radio saying that how
everyone would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Just thank everyone for, we're trying to push through along. We got 2 more meetings after this, due to the election tomorrow, so we'll have the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This time we'll move to public comment, if anyone has anything.
I apologize for my longest meeting ever.
It's all right. Let us down. I took a spill at my house, fell out my stairs, busted through them, so I'm kind of sitting in my chair all night's been kind of tough. But so anything for public comment? If not, we'll move to agenda item 4 on the finance agenda. Consider approving the fiscal year 2017 cost allocation plan and authorize the board chair to execute all necessary documents.
So moved.
Support.
Motion and support. Any discussion on this item? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion moves on. Agenda item 5, consider authorizing the purchase of a new server from Gov Connection in the amount of $17,500 to be paid from account number 258-704.000 and software license from Zone in the amount of $5,588 from account number 258-804.001. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Support.
Support. Jackie, if you wanna let us know, or you got anything, or we wanna move right on, or?
I'll be real quick.
Basically, all we want to know is that it must have.
What it is it's gonna be a backup server that we're gonna place over at the sheriff's department. That's gonna be a replica of services that are in our network room that are critical ones. So say something happens here, we can spin that thing up and you guys can keep on moving until we can restore all the other non-critical services.
So we're still gonna have the server and the backup here, and then plus the backup over here there?
There will be a server over there. It will be a backup as well, okay? But what that's gonna do is it's gonna capture snapshots, unlike the ones that's over on our offsite, where those backups are just simply files and folders. This is actually server snapshots, so we can spin that up if something goes down here.
Just as what happened with,
Yeah, so we're not moving, literally physically moving servers across the road. This one is mobile enough to where it's a tower version, that if we had to take it out to the gun range, we could do it. Or we could take it over to the RESD in the event of emergency and hook up the fiber and get it to go.
So if we build a new jail.
Yes.
and I have another question for you, but I don't know if it comes under this or if it comes under number 7, getting a generator, but I guess while you're up here, if the generators go down here, and the backup server goes down here, what does that mean, what does that not mean for a 911 center?
For 911 center for here, nothing, because they're pretty much on their own. But this server that's over here, we'd be able to spin up and keep going over there. That's going to take care of prosecutor. That's going to take care of your laserfish.
Okay, well, how about so for dispatch, you said it doesn't affect anything. Would their emails be affected then?
No, because email is going to be on that server, replicated on
Okay,
that
so
server.
right now, prior to us doing that, just under the normal situation here,
It would go down. Everything would be down.
everything would be down or just their emails?
Their email, laserfish, the prosecutors.
But they can still operate, they can still,
They can, yes. They just won't have email, correct.
and is that what happened when we had the fire then? So they're just without their emails?
Right.
Okay, so this is like another double safe then, okay.
Yes, it is.
Okay, I'm good.
The only thing though with the generator here that would keep it up and going is that you would not lose lean if it, with the generator and our firewall, and the internet. So if the power goes down here, even though we have those servers over there, until we got fiber over there, brought it back up, you'd be down. Just not as long.
Anything else? Thank you. All those in favor of Mr. Wednesday, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion to move to Wednesday. Agenda item 6, consider authorizing building ground superintendent to contract with AAA furnace and duct cleaning in the amount of $4,800 to have the ducts in the jail cleaned.
So moved.
Support.
Motion and support.
Do some discussion. Tim,
Discussion, Tim.
Sheriff's gone, but Tim, do you know?
Well, they asked that the ducts be cleaned. It's been 3 years since we've done it. The last time was when I first came on. It was about a few months or sometime during that year. We had it done. they asked that we could do it again, but because of the amount that it was, the last time we were able to get somebody in there, and they did it for considerably less, but nobody's even come close to even that at this time. It's pretty, it takes a while. And, you know, but I know it's under the 5,000, but I thought it was close enough that I think the board should approve it. Yeah, you know, I didn't want to make the decision, so I wanted to bring it to you guys, to let you guys approve it, and if you want me to, I'll have it done.
Thank you.
Healthy over there too.
Thank you.
Anything else on this? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion moves to Wednesday. Agenda item 7, consider authorizing building ground superintendent to purchase a generator for the Surbeck building from Atherton Road Sales in the amount of $5,660.
So moved.
Motion and support. Tim?
Well, once again, the generator went down here during the fire. The parts for this generator are not available anymore. I tried to have it repaired, they said a certain part isn't available. And at that point in time, I figured it isn't worth trying to even put any kind of find a part, do anything to cobble it together. I think it's just cheaper to get a new generator in here. When they do this generator, they are going to switch out the switch. And also at that point in time, they're putting in like an on cue or something, which basically, if the generator is operating, it will notify somebody that it's operating. Even if there's a problem with the generator, it will notify, let's say that it should come on but doesn't, it will notify somebody that it should be running and it's not, so that there's a problem. But that will go to somebody's cell phone or iPad or something at that point in time.
So
And
did the
all that's
generator-
included into this.
Did the generator go down because because the gas was cut to it, or did it quit before they cut the gas here, or?
I think it went down because the gas was cut to it
Uh-huh.
at that point in time, but
And it's just now.
when we tried to get it back up and running, I had somebody in here working on it, and they figured it was one of two different things, and one of the parts is not available anymore. At that point in time, I figured it wasn't even worth trying to go any farther, because it basically needed the two parts. And at that point in time, I just forget it. I'd rather bring it to you guys and have a new generator purchased and put in, rather than try to make something that's kind of obsolete, try to work with it.
Okay, so I don't want to sound like Mr. Doomsday here, but do we want to maybe look at a generator that runs above natural gas, but also has a diesel component or something? Or, because I mean, the problem is, next time there's a fire, same thing's gonna happen, the gas will be shut off, it might not quit forever, but, I don't know, I'm just saying, since our backup generators are, our backup servers and everything are here, something you might wanna think about, or maybe not, I don't know.
You're gonna have that?
I don't even know what the cost of that
Doesn't
would
have
be.
that?
No.
Can you look at that before Wednesday, and we can discuss more Wednesday?
Cheaper just to close the county for a day. It really is.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, question.
And, you know, I don't know if there's a generator that's able to do both. The other part of it is, I do know that the sheriff has a generator around.
Well, and if we have a backup server over there, I guess that fits.
And he also told me that at some point, he's trying to get that, we're gonna see if we can get that mobile. At that point in time, let's say that the gas was cut, it might be possible for us to just bring that over here, start it up and plug it in. So we
Doesn't
might
have to
have
add on.
one available if that was the scenario,
Okay.
but, right now, the
Okay.
best thing would be to
So
just.
then where are we on, when we talked about this last month, where are we on the other generator? The green one down the road?
I need to talk about that at some point.
Okay.
Let's talk about it at the end of the meeting.
That was my question, I was wondering the status of the generator.
Okay, come on.
Anything more on this? Move it on to Wednesday. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion moves to Wednesday. Agenda item 8, consider resolution authorizing execution and delivery of an installment purchase agreement between Shiawassee County and Huntington Bank for Huntington Public Capital Corporation, and authorize board chair to sign all necessary documents.
So moved.
Support.
Motion and support. This is gonna be our thing we passed last month for the health department. Larry?
Yeah, I apologize to the board for adding this to the packet on a Monday. I don't normally do that. This is a follow-up to the approval last month to take out the bank loan. The bank requires a resolution, which is what you have before you, in order to borrow the money. So that resolution requires that the board chair sign it. And I sent it to Bonnie Toski and legal to have them review it and have it, the language all accurate for what we need to do it. The reason I brought it right away rather than waiting a month is that we have an interest rate lock that expires on December 3rd. So after December 3rd, it went on cap and the rates are going up. So that's why I put it in
Yeah,
today.
the board was in favor of moving this on. That's kind of why it came late too. We pushed to make sure you had it by this week, so.
Yeah, we mentioned that three of us were at the health board meeting, or two of us were there via phone, I believe, but we requested Larry to get this to us as quick as possible, so.
I see they're doing good, they got the roof on, the windows in.
I'm giving tours every day, so come on over.
Yeah, there's loose nails all over, so be careful
We don't have any hard
where you're
hats.
stepping.
I'll bring my magnets.
So,
All right, anything more on this?
no.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion moves on. At this time, we will, for call to the public, I guess. There's not any other agenda items, but if we have any.
I got a couple of quick things.
All right, go ahead.
So just one quick question, how are we doing on budget?
Well, I was trying to have it done by today. Mike said he thinks the best bet is gonna be Wednesday, so Mike's been more involved in getting it done. I didn't know, I sent him a few things I wanted to make sure was in there, but we're kind of waiting on Cindy, aren't we?
Yeah, she was actually in today, normally, not Mondays, but we expect her tomorrow. Should we in this week?
I believe Thursday.
Not so good. I was just asking, you know, I mean,
You
where
know,
we're at, it needs to get.
Whatever we do, I mean, this is a draft budget, but when we get it done, we'll upload it as soon as it's done to all
So
commissioners.
we have time to look at it before next meeting. The second thing is I was contacted by a gentleman, and I don't have his name with me. I don't know what I did with it, and it was in, about the generator that sits down there at the Work Release Center. He said, this gentleman lives in, out by Myers. He's got 30 years of service of working on them kind of generators and stuff. We talked about selling it. I just talked to him, I talked to him for quite a long time. He said it really doesn't have a whole lot of value, market value to sell. You kind of need it for a specific reason, whether it be a new jail or something, but he says it's not all that desirable of a generator. It's really a big, expensive generator. But with that being said, he said that he knows that generator is sat down there for over a year. He says if regular maintenance is not done on that generator, and we just let that generator sit down there for 2 or 3 years, it'll probably be junk. He suggests that we hire him or somebody like him to come in, charge the batteries, start the generator, run it. There's computers, different things, modulars and stuff like that all need to be charged and ran and stuff. And so I don't know if that's something that the board would like me to.
Did he mention any kind of a cost?
I don't think he's talking a whole bunch of money.
Can you find out?
Well, that's what I want, if you guys want me to do that.
Is building and grounds capable?
I don't think so.
No.
Can't
Know how to do it. I mean,
He says you gotta know how to, he says you gotta have a working knowledge of how, motherboards and all that stuff works. Maybe Jackie could do it, I don't know, but no.
I know we need to.
No, but seriously, I don't wanna take a lot of time on this, but, it's something that I think we maybe need to, because if we have to pay somebody, even if it's $1,000 once a year or something, to come in and start that up and run it, rather than to have a $40,000 or $60,000, $80,000 generator, whatever it may be worth, just sit there and rot, and then find out that we have more parts that are bad and it's worth fixing. So that's something I wanted to bring up.
when it was on the health department, does it start up every so often?
No, it's the one that we.
Yeah, I know, but when it was there, is that?
Yeah,
it
yeah,
did
it
start
started
every
up once
now
a
and
month
then?
and ran.
Oh, okay, that's what I know, some some of those things that happen.
I mean, you'll have to bring some sort of propane or something, you know, a tank or something, you know, I don't know what all these guys do.
No, it's diesel.
Well, you know.
Diesel's got a couple hundred gallons of fuel in it.
Right, which will go bad, you know, if it just
Well, that's
sits
another
there.
thing, now you've got diesel fuel that's been sitting there for.
Right.
No, it's been that long, it's not gonna be bad.
Not in a year, but
But
it
what,
will.
4 years
yeah.
from now?
I seen it out there with no lock on it, 10
The
gallons.
diesel was empty before we moved
Okay.
it.
Well, there's just some issues that we probably need to find out about. I mean, I can find out and we can know by next month, get a price, and we should, if it's under, it's only $1,000 or something, I guess I'll just go ahead and take care of it, because I just think it's, it just shouldn't sit out there and rot. So if it's a bunch of money, then I'll come back and, get with the board and go from there. That's two, I got one other thing, but I'm gonna wait until public safety.
Anything else, anybody else have any agenda items for this? Do we want anything, a motion, given the chairman, get that done? And if it's under 1,000, or, I mean, probably more than that even.
Can you find out by like Wednesday or Thursday? No?
I said take a month, come back.
A month's not gonna make a difference.
Right, that's what I'm saying, that one thing, you know,
Find out, if we go through and find out how much and we'll.
and if it's within reason, I'll just handle it, but if it's, I mean, and I'll call and talk to a couple of you guys or whatever, you know.
Okay.
But it's something that was brought to my attention, and I agree that we should start it off, let it run, and it should be something that's done, you know, at least once a year, till we decide where we're gonna purpose it to.
Call to the public, anyone from the public like to address the board? If not, this meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
I figured that. This was the time.
Really got it right.
What's that?
States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. This will be our first opportunity for members of the public to address the committee. I have cards. See nobody waving their hands, so we'll roll on through. Item number 4, I accept a motion to consider authorizing the Sheriff's Office to purchase a 2019 Ford
Police Interceptor, utility all-wheel drive from Signature Ford in the amount of $29,942 to be paid $28,065 out of the Capital Outlay Fund, 101-301-970, and $1,877 out of the Training Fund, Fund number 101-301-956.
So moved. Support.
Been moved and supported. Any, yes,
The
Mr.
sheriff's not here, he had to leave to go to Bennington Township. This is to replace the Tahoe that has 180,000 miles on it. And he's contacted, or he's been in conversation with Cindy to verify the money and everything, it's all there, so. Wanted me to share that, he'll be here on Wednesday if you guys have more questions.
Thank you. It's been moved and supported. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Item number 5, I'd accept a motion to authorize the county coordinator to execute the revised Michigan Indigent Defense Commission compliance plan grant contract and continue in consultation with the board chair to execute leases and contracts and authorize hiring and expenditures under the plan in amounts not to exceed the funding provided through the MIDC compliance plan grant contract.
So moved.
Support. Been moved and supported. Discussion, comments, questions? Mike, if you could just give us a quick overview on what this means?
A lot of this was covered by the earlier approval in August to proceed with the compliance plan, but we're getting to the stage where there is a number of things that are going to move fairly quickly. I mean, depending on what direction we go with some things, but we're going to have to sign some contracts. We may have to go into a lease, and I just want it clarified that to move ahead with the whatever hiring we do at this point. We're not going to hire them all. One of the main things right now is to, whatever we do, we got to find some temporary office space. If we don't start soaking up some of these indigent defendants, we're going to have to restore budget to the county to do it until we can get up and rolling. The public defender that you guys selected, the target date is November 17. It's halfway through a pay period, to bring him on, and there'll be disbursement made at that time. Within 6 months, we're supposed to be up and running. I mean, in compliance with all the plans. We don't have space right now. There's some things I'm working on. One of them is to see if the state will, we gotta be careful, because we gotta make sure that we aren't in the business of providing stuff, be it space or anything. We gotta make sure it comes from the state, other than our required contribution, which is $180,000, something like that, and that's already in there. When we take that first disbursement, the resolution you guys passed last month, the state has, and well, it wasn't only us, there were some other counties that also passed with similar resolutions, and there were discussions that were made with the Michigan Association of Counties. They have modified their position. The grant funding, instead of 20% being put down, or not 20% being dispersed to the funding unit, and then a series of reimbursements, which would inevitably entail us having to put money forward and then get reimbursed, which is not a comfortable situation. They've now changed it. They've agreed to, by and large, think of it in terms of disbursements, not reimbursements, and the initial payment is going to be 50% of the budget plan for the year. So like I said, a lot of this is already contemplated, but just to make sure that we can move, and you notice I put in consultation with the board chairman, that would also include the finance chairman for that matter, and anybody else who wanted to weigh in on it.
So this basically just allows the ball to keep rolling, delegate the
Yes,
authority
and really part of our procurement contract does have the county coordinator overseeing contracts anyway, so.
Commissioner Bartz?
I just want to clear it up.
So, and then, as it does say, is in consultation with the board chair. So me and Mike have been talking quite a bit. And this maybe could be on handled other agenda items, or we can talk about, this is something that we need to talk about for a few minutes right now. We just gotta take 5 or 10 minutes and talk. So one of the first things that we have to do is figure out where we're gonna put these guys. And with that being said, we've talked a little bit, but this board hasn't made any decisions and we haven't made any recommendations of how we're gonna change things around. We know Larry's health department is going into the new building. That's gonna give us the whole entire basement of district court. At some point, Tony's office is gonna be opened up, but we haven't discussed who we're gonna put where and where we're gonna put people, and we really have to start working on that. Where we need office space for this public defender sooner than later. And it's gonna cost money to set it up. It's gonna cost money if we have to move them. I've kind of been pushing a little bit towards renting the space next door in the city of Corona, but that's gonna be March before that's ready. And that's one of the closest things we have to being ready to rent if we can put them in. What are we gonna do as of November 17th? Where are we gonna put these people?
So I have a question about housing these employees. So are you waiting to hear from the state on whether the county can accommodate them in their office?
No,
We got it all straight.
The budget has been set through through the MIDC compliance plan.
We have to get some temporary
We'll be receiving it.
trailers or something
But
here?
once we receive that initial disbursement, within 180 days, we have to be in compliance with all.
Well, my question is about the office space. The county can house Michigan Independent.
We don't wanna house them ourselves because there's money for that in our budget. If the county house them, that money will be taken out of our budget next year.
If we just flat house them, but I am doing some checking to see if they can pay rent to the county. And if they can, and then that counts as a disbursement.
But then again, and I don't need to keep interrupting, we're talking back and forth because we've both been working on this.
Yeah.
But the thing is where are we gonna put them?
Okay, so does it have to be in the county seat?
Let me see, that's all right.
Go ahead, we'll go back and forth.
Here's the issue. If they're not downtown here, you're gonna run into other issues. They're not gonna be able, they're not gonna, like the prosecutor's office, and these are meant to shadow the prosecutor's office. They're not gonna be able to get a call from the court and say they need a public defender in 5 minutes, because that won't happen. The other thing is you'll start running into mileage charges, which have not been budgeted.
I like Commissioner Holzhausen's idea. Get a trailer, park it in the court parking lot, and it's temporary. No, seriously,
We'll consider it.
if there's nothing here in town,
Well,
there is maybe, but
and we are, one of the prime things we're looking at is
right,
two doors down.
right,
Yeah, but I
right.
thought you couldn't get it for 3 or 4 months.
No, anything we got here is 3 or 4 months.
We could have a trailer here tomorrow.
That's a possibility, but that takes a build out. Then we have, one of them is the basement of the district court.
Right.
We were out there and looked at that. One half of that, whichever half youth detention was taking, the other half would fit the public defender's office. And that's a possibility. And then there is the drain commission office, which would be an ideal location for them. So would this place, don't get me wrong. But here we're gonna run into more expensive leases and we got a build out situation.
But the question is, where are we gonna put Michigan State Extension? I mean, what are our long-term goals for those places? Because I don't wanna be moving them around.
Okay, short term, how soon does he need an office?
November 17th.
I will need
2 weeks.
19. Yeah, I will need a spot for him. That means a phone and a computer and a hookup. And that's another
I
reason.
like Commissioner Holzhausen's idea.
We were also considering getting with the drain commissioner and maybe moving some of them files and moving into that building.
Maybe moving in there temporarily, and then when they move, like I said, there's a lot of things. We're gonna work something out. We're gonna work something out. This is just letting us proceed, and again, I also, in addition to,
You got places you can put them in right now? Or not?
We
I
have-
didn't say yes or no.
we have options. We have options. We can rent space, but, you gotta decide what's efficient. Because once you hook up, you run a fiber optic cable somewhere, and you hook up computers, stuff like that.
Whether we want it or not, so.
Right. But yes, and also in addition, Commissioner Rubin, we've had conversations too about who's going where. It also-
That's what we have, we need
Yeah, that's what also
long-term
depends who's
goals.
going where.
So, if I may, what would how can we be helpful? Jeff, what would you like from us?
You can't move down to the building until something's done, so
Right.
main thing is we just gotta get somebody for them to move into right now. That's our critical things, right?
It won't be all of them. We
No, but part of them.
Yes.
Is there some place we can squeeze them into somebody
Possibly
else's
the drain
office or something, or?
Possibly the drain commission, possibly, maybe there's a building over here that used to be used for an office. Maybe we'll do a temporary rent
How
there.
about that thing that says cat house down the road? That's
Well,
available for rent.
The building in front of it that used to be a car wash also had offices at one time. We may do a short-term lease there.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, there's things we can do. All we're asking for here is the ability to move quickly on things.
Wait a minute, we have a motion, we have support. I guess in order for us to be helpful, we need to know how we can be helpful. So if you want to come back Wednesday, if you've got 3 options you want us to entertain.
Well, what do you guys think about renting from the city of Cronin?
Well, compared to what? It's like in a vacuum here. I don't know what we're comparing.
Well, Commissioner, I can talk with you at length about all the items and we can
Well,
say.
I'd like a recommendation then, I guess.
The recommendation is that you let us proceed without having to, like, if I have to sign a short-term lease somewhere, if that's what seems best, then I'm able to do that in consultation.
Well, in consultation with the chair, I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah, and Commissioner Root too.
And the chair of the finance.
What's currently available in the basement of the courthouse?
Right now it's filled with health department nurses, and I checked to see, I mean, if there was even 2 or 3 offices that could be vacated, but they're pretty full down there right now.
Well, that just seems like a logical place. I
Well,
wondered if it was in.
frankly, if half of that is gonna become available, like I said, we can lodge them temporarily. If half that's gonna become available, then we won't have to build this up.
Yeah.
Or we can build this up, but, that's a little bit more.
Okay, if I could, we have a motion and support. If we can move this to Wednesday, if there's some additional details you might be able to put together between now and then on the office and what 3 options are that you'd like us to provide input on, we're happy to do it. Otherwise, I
But
guess.
it is up to the commissioners to decide where we're gonna put MSU extension and all
It
that.
has a lot to do with where you're putting these other people.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is.
Well, that's
We
sort of,
don't have to decide
we have
that
sort of this
today.
immediate need,
I can
to
tell- we can
November
take care of
17th
it.
deadline, and then we've got sort of this larger global view of where are we gonna house people. It's 2 separate things.
The public defender is very amenable to, he's very easy to work with. I'm confident we won't have a problem. We'll work something out. Like I said, if nothing else, we'll do a short-term lease on a building here.
Yeah.
Another possibility is up on M21, that'd be temporary. But we can find that, we just need to be able to move on it. That's all we're asking for. Let us move on.
Yeah.
I mean, clarify, like I said, we can do the same with the compliance plan itself.
Okay, I think we're ready to advance that. I guess back to the second part, which is sort of a more global view of where we're going to house county employees in light of these transitions and additions. That seems like, we need probably to spend some time and resources and better understanding where employees are currently housed, what their future needs are, and what the options might be.
My only concern was that is I just don't wanna be moving people twice and
Agreed.
and hooking up internet twice and all that.
That's one of the
Would they
reasons.
move out and put them right over there in the courthouse? Would that be ideal? If we
In
get
the
something?
basement.
Yeah.
If there was space, there's just not space right now. But if, as far as that, if they're in one of the county buildings, and again, we're not doing this unless we check and find out that it doesn't affect our funding. But if they're in the county buildings, it's very easy to hook them up with computers because they already got hookups.
Yeah.
And then when the time comes, wherever they're gonna be, those computers can be moved, the phones can be moved with them. These are all, and we need to proceed with, Jack is not here anymore, but we need to proceed with.
That's fine, Mike. I think I understand it. I think the committee does. We're ready to move it forward. But I think we need a space study to speak to Jeff's larger question about what happens after November 17th. And how do we get a space study developed so we can sort of look at a map and a framework and better understand, what's a smart way forward. So what do we need to do to get a space study done to understand where current employees are housed? What's the vision for the future? Are we going to be adding employees, and how does it all fit together? How do we move forward on that? What's the thinking?
we need some kind of a motion or something to?
Well, I mean, I know there's consultants, contractors that do space studies. They come in and they look at it. Do we have the capacity to do it internally? Do we have the resources to do it externally?
We're kind of beyond the stage of doing space studies now. I mean,
I'm not talking about MIDC. I'm talking about MSU Extension folks, talking about the drain commissioner. I'm talking about, it sounds like there's a lot of moving parts here, beyond November 17th.
Yeah, the idea was initially, when all these, when all the pieces started moving, was building and grounds will be out. Everything's hinging now on that new building, and then other things are hinging on Larry's building, so we're kind of still, The plan when we moved forward with the health building and with that building is that drain office is out, building and grounds is out of there, MSU goes to the first floor of Capitan, youth center goes down and, in some way we'd have to renovate a little bit to put a holding cell, put some classroom, but it's kind of set up. But I'm not seeing them in their space there occupying, what is that, almost 7,000 square feet up down there? No way.
How big the picnic could move there, right?
So I think they can get the other half. I mean, when you go down there, there's a massive, wasted space waiting room area that really won't be needed if we have two offices that are separate or apart, So I think that was the initial plan in my head that I've kind of.
So what do we need additional information? Do we need to sketch this out? What do we need?
One of the issues is if in fact we end up moving to their building, we will be committing on that within a matter of a few weeks. I mean, we're gonna have to.
Well, I think the interim, you have to, like Gary said, you gotta get a trailer or some kind of storage space or space to house them.
I prefer a trailer than to rent.
Temporarily.
We just went through renting from the city of Corona, see how well that.
So we're all kind of in agreement.
One at a time.
$6,000 a month. That's probably.
Are we kind of in agreement that we would put the public defender then down in the district court and part of that? In the long term?
If we have existing space for all the reasons Mike's laid out, I don't know.
Well, they gotta be close to the courts. How much closer you can get them?
Well, any location downtown is
Yeah.
of course. I mean, there's no issue with that.
And rather
Well, we
than
gotta make sure that we get paid. Can you check that out?
Well, that has to be checked, you're right.
How long does it take to get that checked?
I can probably check that out. I'm able to get that ascertained by Thursday, maybe, but more than likely probably by Thursday.
So Mike, I had a question. You talked about them charging rent, but the county also has, there's a cost share here on the MIDC. The county's putting in some resources. Can we do an in-kind for real estate, for housing them, to charge against our cost share that we have to contribute?
What we want to be able to do is have them pay rent, or even have a portion, costs are going to be a portion to them. Just like we are now moving, we haven't done it in the past.
6 and 1, it's the same
We're not
concept. Whether we charge rent
costs.
or we get an in-kind credit for it.
That's the goal. And so if we do that, then we can put it in the bill.
Thanks.
We still may choose to go down there, but
I'd like to call the question, if there's additional information that surfaces between now and Wednesday, if you could bring that for additional discussion, Mike, I would welcome that. So, all in favor of advancing this to Wednesday, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Item number 6, I accept a motion to consider authorizing the district court to hire a probation officer, salary grade 7, at $37,668 to $48,963, starting at the $37,668 to $44,997 to fill a vacancy.
So moved.
Moved and supported. Any discussion? Comments, questions? Is this something we'll have the sheriff with us on Wednesday, just to let us know more details, I assume? Mike, do you know any of those details?
The probation officer? Yes, what's happened is Alana Kelly, the current chief probation officer, is leaving, and the current probation officer, they're the two that are over there, is being promoted to her, to the chief probation officer. That would leave a vacancy for the probation officer and the cost.
Not a new position, it's the Thank you. Those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, advances to Wednesday. Any other agenda items before the committee?
Just an update, Commissioner McMaster and I have been meeting with Shiawassee. Their contract ends at the end of the year. That's our corrections deputies. I'm just trying to navigate through possibly a 4-year contract so that they're on the same recurring cycle as the sheriff's department instead of another year, but there's some things that we're still not quite open to. They don't want the wage study, we want them to take the wage study, you know, they want 3%, but our wage study in the long run gives them more money, but they want the 3%.
Negotiate.
Plus, the extra money that the road patrol got.
Yeah, but we are working on that, hopefully have something, for the board to ratify by December.
Great. Thank you for the update. Any additional agenda items or updates? It's our final call to the public. Anyone wish to address the committee once more? We are adjourned.
Where do they want to put it? All right, we'll go right into Health and Human Services. Everyone will rise for the pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll first call the public at this time. If anyone has anything, now we'll move right into the agenda. Consider authorizing the health department to contract with Michigan Department of Health and Human Services for essential local public health services in the amount of $935,168 for the period of 10/1/18 to 9/30/19. Authorize Larry Johnson, Health Director, to sign all necessary documents. So moved. We have a motion. I will support that motion. Mary?
Just annual contract renewal for, it's one of our largest contracts. Covers hearing and vision, food, sewage, water, immunizations, general health programs. Essential.
Is that up or down?
Slightly up.
Oh, okay, good.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion moved on to Wednesday. Entertain a motion to consider authorizing the health department to contract with Dr. Dennis Chernin for medical director services in the amount of $37,200 for the period of 10/1/19 to 12/31/19 and authorize 1/1/19 to 12/31/19 and authorize Larry Johnson, health director, to sign all necessary documents.
So moved.
Support. Motion and support. Anything on that?
It's just a contract renewal. This will be Dr. Chernan's 33rd year as medical director. He started in 1986 with the health department, so he's been here a long time. He still wishes to remain. We're willing to keep him. So,
All right.
slight increase.
Okay.
Still the cheapest game in town.
Yes.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion moves to Wednesday. Agenda item 6, consider authorizing health department to contract with the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality for environmental health services in the amount of $37,117 for a period of 10/1/18 to 9/30/19 and authorize Larry Johnson, health director, to sign all necessary documents.
So moved.
Support. Motion and support. Any discussion?
DEQ services, campground inspections, public swimming pools, public water supplies, contract renewal, slight increase. Just
All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion moves on to Wednesday. Are there any other agenda items for Health and Human Service Committee? We've been here this long, I'm sure somebody's got something. Yeah, there you go.
Jared, do you want to give an update on the Capitan building, just real briefly?
Yeah, sure, we can go over that. As most have probably seen as they come through town, roofs on, the walls are up, the interior's being done, a lot of work. I had a tour of it at the health board meeting. It's really coming together. The elevator, I believe, is delayed, so it pushed us from February to March. So that figures into, again, our space issue. We want to be up in February, but now we have, another month. But if there's anything you want to add?
No, it's just that the company, we're looking at being about a month behind. We're going to have a finished building with no elevator. And so we're going to be in the process of moving in, but we will not be able to occupy until we have an elevator because of ADA. So we will be moving the office. We're trying to get out as quick as we can because I know we have a problem here. but the economy is rocking right now, and the elevators are backward. And they build this thing out, and it comes in sections, and they install it.
You can't use the other elevator?
Well, that's what I'm gonna see if we can try to back around that, because there is a connection on the second floor to the
Just
existing
temporary,
building.
I just thought.
So if the codes and the inspectors will allow that, that could allow us to move that to keep us on the February target. It's difficult.
Anything else? All right, that's, I think, all I have.
Just another, Wednesday, we are getting a presentation from Perrin. You know, everything's gone. Me and Gary met out there a couple weeks ago now, was it been, Gary? Gary wanted to move the building up 500 foot, and we ended up agreeing to about 50 foot, so it's gonna be, the actual building's gonna be right up at the property line. I'm just teasing Gary.
250's in the middle.
2.0. We did move it up some more because we got out there, and Gary said this right along, that the background is quite crappy.
It's low. They'd have to fill it in 4 or 5 feet.
Yeah, we have to have a retention pond. We figured that would be a better place. So me and Gary were out there. Mike was out there for a little bit, but Tony was out there and Tim was out there. We went, finalized everything. They're just putting it all together. They're gonna have pictures, and it'll all be done on Wednesday. I think we've pretty much approved it anyways, but we're gonna have a bottom dollar number that shouldn't change. And if we tell them, so I believe on Wednesday, I think they're gonna start breaking ground like next week. So very, very soon.
Good. The reason I wanted it up is stand your ground, it's high ground, and we just gotta keep it up. I mean, they're all worried about building something new. Well, 50 years from now, the work release, they'll knock that down and build a new jail or build something down that old dilapidated building.
That's just good to do, bro.
So.
Yeah, well, I just didn't wanna take,
I
a
know,
bunch of wasted space out there.
gotta
So
keep
we
it up on the
compromised,
ground.
and we're all good, I think.
So what's still our timetable if they break ground next week?
I still want it up a little further. So.
6 months, 6 months.
It's common sense to put it up on a nice high ground or standing nice, but very close.
Anything else, Commissioner Holzhausen?
We're open to seeing that, bro, stuff on the
Call to the
scene.
public, if anyone from the public has anything, Health and Human Service Committee. If not, this meeting will be adjourned to. Thank you for everyone that stayed.
Good luck for those of you who have elections on Tuesday, tomorrow.
That's right.
I'm gonna be